Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Liz O'Riordan. I'm a consultant breast surgeon who was diagnosed with breast cancer 6 years ago now, back in 2015. I was 40, I thought it was a cyst, I had no idea that I had breast cancer. And I thought I knew everything there was to know about breast cancer because I spent my life treating these women. And I suddenly found myself having chemotherapy and having to have a mastectomy and make decisions about reconstruction and having radiotherapy, and then going on the tamoxifen that I used to tell women was just a bit of the menopause. And I realized how little I knew. And I had a year off work, and it took me about a year to get back to work. And then in 2018, I was planning on having my implants taken out. I had an awful lot of pain because of radiotherapy, which is really, really common. And I was planning to go flat, but I'd had some really bad scar tissue underneath my armpit because I'd had a lot of surgery there. And my surgeon said, well, just get a scan just to make sure it's nothing. And on one view, the scan was completely normal. And on another view, it looked suspicious. And they did a biopsy, and that nodule of scar tissue was actually a 2.5 centimetre recurrence on my chest wall. And I was a consultant breast surgeon, and I didn't think that's what it was. So that meant going flat, and that meant more radiotherapy. It gave me with a permanently limited reduction of movement to my left arm. I still can't get it all the way above my head. And the consequence of that meant I had to retire as a consultant breast surgeon. I couldn't operate anymore. And psychologically, it was really hard. And so what I did was put all my energy finding other ways to help people. And some of you may have come across my book, which I don't have with me, but I'll bring it for the live Q&A at the end, The Complete Guide to Breast Cancer, because I realized I had so many questions, not about what was happening to me, but how to cope with what was happening to me. And not just physically, the side effects of the treatments that we've all gone through, but mentally. The anxiety, the depression, the scanxiety, that fear. I didn't realize it was a huge thing. So that's kind of why I am now here talking to you today, because my new life is just to help people. But the thing that got me through is exercise. Now, I think it's ridiculous that I'm talking to you about exercise today, because I was the girl at school who hated exercise. I was a swimmer. I used to swim. I had shoulders out like here in the 80s. I didn't need shoulders, but I hated team games. And my maiden name is Ball, but I couldn't hit, throw or catch one to save my life. I was the last to be picked for the rounders team or the netball team or the hockey team. I just hated it. And those awful communal showers where you had to strip off and get in. I swear we all had periods for 3 months on an end because we just didn't want to go in. I did not like team sports. I was not good at sports. I used to go and volunteer at a local junior school in a really rundown area of Coventry and spend my games afternoons getting chocolate on the bus on the way there and just helping kids learn to read. That was much more fun than running around a muddy hockey pitch. I didn't like sport. And through university, through medical school, and as a junior doctor, I, like many of us out there, I would join the gym because it's what you did. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to look like all those models you see in the papers. So I gave them all my money and I went 2 or 3 times and I never went back. When I think of the shoes and the handbags I could have bought with all those gym memberships, but life got in the way. As a junior surgeon, I was doing 100, 120-hour weeks with regular on-calls and shifts, and I was having to work and revise and pay to sit exams, and my own health wasn't really a factor. I was fit. I could stand up for an 8-hour operation, but I couldn't run for a bus. And because I'm tall and I'm relatively slim, people assume I'm fit, but I really, really wasn't. But I kept joining gyms and giving them all my money away. And I got into exercise when I hit 30, and there's something about me and a birthday with a 0 at the end of it. And I thought, right, I'm going to do something for charity. I'll run a marathon. How hard can it be? And I managed to get a place for the London Marathon for my local hospice because I knew the money I raised would go towards paying for a new nurse. It wouldn't get swallowed up in a big charity. I was clueless. I had to drive for half an hour to get to a safe park to run because of the area I lived in, Cardiff. I did most of my training on a treadmill. I hadn't run more than a half marathon before the big day. And this is how clueless I was. And the London Marathon, when you do it, your bibs have numbers and they're coloured, red, blue, yellow, green. And that tells you where your starting pen is. I didn't know that. And I ended up walking about 3 miles around this huge park looking for my starting pen. God, I got around in 6.5 hours, dressed as a sunflower. And it was amazing to do it at the back with people handing me cans of Stella and smoked salmon sandwiches from nursing homes. And I loved it. I thought, never again. I'm not a runner. And then I started dating my husband, who had just got into cycling. And cycling for him, he was a surgeon as well, was his way of mindfulness, forgetting whenever he cycled home, he was a happy man. It was just his way of letting everything go. And so he joined a cycling club and we were dating, we weren't living together. His weekends were spent cycling and then trying not to fall asleep on the sofa, but he did. And I realized when we moved in together, if I didn't start cycling, I would never see him. Now, I was terrified of riding a bike. I was very much feet flat on the floor, none of those clippy-in pedals. It's scary, it's dangerous, it's wrong. And I'm pedaling away up a hill. Now, when I say hill, I live in Suffolk, so they aren't really hills, but it was steep to me. And he just went off into the distance. And I realized you need those clip-in pedals to help you push as well as pull up on the stroke. So we slowly raised my seat up centimetre by centimetre, and I fell over in front of friends and pubs and roundabouts with the clip-in pedals, but I got into cycling. And I actually loved it. It was something we did. And it was just that sense of get out of the bike and go and explore. And my husband did a crazy ride in Italy called the Maratona, which is in the Dolomites. And it's basically up or downhill. Came back with the most amazing, colourful kit and a hat. I thought, I want to do this. There were so few women doing it. I thought, right, I'm going to do this. So we trained. And we went on a training camp in Italy up a crazy mountain called the Stelvio. It's 20 kilometers long and it just looks like one of those snakes going up the mountain. And I went up it and it was the most amazing feeling. Terrified of going downhill. This is why I'm bad at skiing. I do not like going downhill. But an amazing woman told me to point my lasers. And this is a tip for any of you if you're doing a sport that goes downhill at speed. Because what I tended to do is to look at the road ahead. When you're looking at the road ahead and on the mountain, you suddenly have to really quickly turn the car. But she said, your lasers, your nipples, I only have one now, point them where you want to go. And the body in the bike will naturally follow you, or the body in the ski. So by turning my body to look around the corner, the bike automatically went. And then I was a speed demon bombing down mountains. And then a month later, I got breast cancer. And I just discovered sport. And I thought, is cancer going to take everything away from me? Because it had taken my job. I couldn't operate. I was having chemo. And because I was a breast surgeon, there was no way mentally I could operate on women whilst I was going through it myself. And nobody talked to me about it. This was only 6 years ago, but it's not surprising because I never talked to patients about exercise. I didn't know it was a thing, and I hadn't been trained how to tell a healthy person to exercise, let alone someone with cancer and other medical problems. And at the time, every cancer website, Macmillan, CRUK, Breast Cancer Care, as it was then, would say, ask your doctor if it's safe to exercise. We're clueless. We don't know. We really have no idea what is safe for you to do. And most doctors and nurses don't exercise, so they don't get how good it is for you. We don't practice what we preach. But I was determined. I didn't want to lose me. So I didn't tell my doctors and nurses what I was planning on doing because I thought they'd tell me off. And I had a tunneled port for my chemo, mainly because I just got a Cocker Spaniel puppy and I thought he'd pull out a PICC line. But I thought if I have a tunnel port, I can hopefully still swim. Because I was toying with the idea of doing a triathlon. And I did my first, and triathlon is a crazy sport where you swim and then you bike and then you run. And I did my first one when I was 40. You're recognizing the picture here. My husband signed me up because he was so fed up of me, typical surgeon, research. I bought every triathlon book, every triathlon magazine. But there's a woman who turned me around. She's called Meredith Atwood. I can send you the link to the book. She was a fat American woman and she owned it. She's a size UK 18 to 20, lawyer, 2 kids, long hours. And she went to a gym induction at her work because they were giving away free cookies. But then she thought, oh, I could maybe do this. And she started doing spin classes at 6 in the morning before work. And the spin instructor was a triathlete and a triathlon coach. He said, you could do one tomorrow. You can doggy paddle, You can ride a push bike with stabilizers, and you can walk. You can do a triathlon. And she did it. And the first time I was with her, she got shorts and a t-shirt. And as she was running, her t-shirt ran up and her belly fat rolls were hanging out and she was trying to cover her boobs, but she did. And she found the time to get fit, juggling her life as a lawyer with 2 children. I'm a wife. I don't have any on-call in my job. I don't have any children. Surely I can find the time. So I did this triathlon and I wanted to try and keep it going because that was kind of part of me. So the first thing I did was park run. Now, some of you may not have heard of park run. It's the most amazing thing. In parks all over the UK and all over the world, there are free 5K courses that you can turn up and do on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. And although it's called park run, it's park run, jog, walk, crawl, push twins in a buggy, take your dogs for a walk. It's not a race. You can get a time if you like, but it's more a community of people turning up and having exercise. And I did one 2 years ago and then I couldn't be asked, but I went back with my husband. I had chemo on a Friday and Saturday morning before the symptoms kicked in, I turned up to park run. And I'd lost my hair, the one I went to, and I got a huge hug from the most amazing man who said, "Welcome to the Colour Club. There's 4 or 5 of us who've got cancer, we'll look after you." No one batted an eyelid. My husband was around with me and I was really slow, but I didn't care because I was doing it. And that sense of freedom, for that 40 minutes, I was just Liz. I was just Liz. It was amazing. And now, so Lucy Gossage, who's an oncologist in Nottingham, who herself is one of the UK's most accomplished long-distance triathletes, has launched with Move Charity 5K Your Way. So the last Saturday of every month, if you go to the website, you'll know if there's one near you. We encourage cancer patients to come and go around as slowly as they want. Often it's therapy. I was chatting to one man, I launched my local one again in January, and he was crying all the way around. But just that therapy of being able to talk to someone who'd been there, who understood the crazy thoughts in his head, and just thinking, wow, I've got my exercise in. To start running, so I'm going to come on to what exercise you should be doing, because I carried on. I would cycle to chemo on the sunny days. My husband drove me home, and the nurses bollocked me because they said, your neutrophils are very, very low. You're at risk of sepsis. You could get an infection. Seriously, I'm riding a bike in country lanes. I've got ducks and dogs at home. I could get an infection from them. But that shame I felt, that hour I'd had of just being me in the sunshine was like, oh. I even did a sprint triathlon during chemo, pool-based, because you shouldn't swim in open water because of the infection risk. I didn't tell my oncologist because I knew she'd say no because she didn't get it. And I had to bargain with my local triathlon club and say, I'll be really slow, I'll be really careful. And I was the last to finish, but I did it. And I was crying as I crossed the line thinking, wow, I've got 2 arms and 2 legs that work, and cancer doesn't define me. And I've gone on to do crazy things. I've gone on to do half Ironman triathlons and cycle up mountains. And I've had to learn that I'm slow. But this is now about finishing it and doing it safely and still getting the medal, because you get a medal if you last. But just that sense of there's more to my life than cancer treatment. But why should exercise be the first drug? And this is for everybody. There is now enough scientific evidence that has looked at trials of hundreds of different cancer patients. There is some metastatic evidence, which I will come to later, to show that it can, if you start exercise 2 weeks before your operation, it improves the side effects, it reduces the risk of infection, it gets you out of hospital quicker. People who are cycling during their chemotherapy infusions for pancreatic cancer get less side effects and feel better. People who are doing aerobic and weightlifting exercise in their good weeks during chemo have better results and fewer side effects. It's the one thing that helps with fatigue, although it's the last thing you want to do. It also helps with the mental side effects, the depression, the anxiety. And it can halve the risk of breast cancer coming back. But if you've got metastatic cancer, it can actually improve your quality of life by making you fitter, by making you stronger, by making you able to live whilst you're having treatments. So I'm going to talk about what you should do and why you should do it. But honestly, I think it should be a contract that your doctor and nurses say, we will give you this treatment, and you say, and I will exercise to try and give your treatments the best chance of working. I know exercise is a horrible word, And it's easy for me as a fit and healthy woman to say it. And I had to eat my own words, because I'm preaching the benefits of exercise, aerobic and resistance training, which I'm going to talk about. I wasn't doing the weight training. I didn't have time. It wasn't important. And I thought, I'm nearly 50. I've had my ovaries out. I've been on the early menopause. I know my bones are osteopenic. That's thin bones from my last DEXA scan. I need to do weight training for my own bone health. And during lockdown, when the gyms were shut, some resistance bands, which is, you don't need a gym at home, resistance bands, dumbbells, bottle of wine, and changing my diet, less cake, more protein, I got myself the fittest, leanest, shredded I have ever been. I put on 10% of my body weight with the menopause, and it's not a lot to look at me, but that's still a lot for someone who's slim. I lost it. I got fit. It was amazing feeling strong and telling men, no, I don't need you to lift the weights. I'm fine. I can do it. It was amazing what a difference that made to my energy and my quality of life. So I'm going to talk about now what you should be doing. And then we'll come and focus specifically on metastatic cancer, because I know a lot of people say you shouldn't. They're wrong. So current guidelines, and these are international roundtable guidelines, and I can send links to all the papers I have to say, is the bare minimum. You should be doing 3 aerobic sessions a week for half an hour a week, which is quite a lot to fit into your day, actually. And by aerobic, that means walking, cycling, swimming, jogging, tennis, Zumba, doing YouTube videos at home, something that gets your heart rate up. So walking isn't enough, it's speed walking. And it's been shown even 10 minutes a day of walking fast enough where you can't sing. You are speaking in 3 to 4 word sentences because you have to get your breath. Or I couldn't sing Do a Deer because I'm working too hard. Half your time of your walking should be sprint walking. So you're swinging your arms, you're really going for it, and then you might take a breather to the next lamppost or the next tree, and then you get going again. You've really got to get your heart rate working and feel a bit sweaty and feel a bit uncomfortable, and you'll be amazed how unfit and how shit you feel. But it gets easier, and the trick is not to do it by distance. I walked for half an hour every day during chemo, apart from those 1 days where nothing was happening and I didn't want to do it. And some days I would walk for an hour with a friend in the morning. We used to do it at 6 o'clock before she took her kids to school, so it was done. Other days I'd walk 200 yards, stopping to spit and be sick. But I did the half hour. So don't set yourself a distance, because some days you're not going to have the energy. It's not right. I'm going to go out. I used to listen to Desert Island Discs. I know it's a bit old and boring, but I turn around at song 4 because I knew it was half an hour. Or you listen to a half-hour podcast, you turn around if you don't have anyone to walk with. But you've got to kind of think, I've got to get a bit hot, I've got to get a bit sweaty, I've got to get my heart rate up. If you have a Fitbit or a watch, you can track it so you know. The next step, if you want to increase from walking to jogging, is the Couch to 5K app, which is fantastic. It's free. 3 times a week, you put your earpods in and a voice tells you to walk and then to jog for a few seconds and then to walk for a couple of minutes. And it slowly increases the amount of time you're jogging for walking until you can jog for half an hour in one go. And that's the great way, because 3 times a week, that's your aerobic exercise done. Swimming is fantastic as an aerobic exercise. And it's amazing. You can run 10K, but you can't swim a length. They're very different fitness things. It's also very good if you've got stiff joints, you've got stiff arms and shoulders. It's almost easier to stretch yourself in the water. But it's not good weight-bearing exercise, because we know breast cancer hormonal treatment, they thin the bones. And with swimming, you're not putting any weight through your bones. So if you're doing swimming, you need to be doing something else. Yoga and Tai Chi do actually count. And although they're not going to get your heart rate up, they are weight bearing. So if that's all you can manage, actually just doing Tai Chi, where you're good for the sense of balance as well. But 3 times a week, 30 minutes minimum time. On top of that, with the free time you don't have and the energy you don't have, you should be doing resistance-based exercise, weight training. It doesn't have to be in a gym. I'm going to show you a couple of books from resistance bands, but that is almost more important. This is a really interesting fact. The biggest reason old people go into nursing homes is because they cannot stand up from a chair. They don't have the strength in their legs to get out of bed or get out of chair or get themselves up onto their Zimmer frame without someone helping them. And when you spend a lot of your time lying on bed during chemo, your muscles get weak because you're not using them, so you get weaker. So it's harder to walk, so you walk less, so you get weaker. It's a never-ending circle, and resistance exercise can break it. So I've got my crib sheets here because there's so much to remember. I want to make sure I get this right. There are kind of 6 or 7 key reasons why you should exercise if you have metastatic breast cancer. The first is to reduce your risk of falling and breaking a bone. Many of you will have bone mets, and many of you may not know you have bone mets yet because you don't know you have a met until you fall and break your hip. But by exercising, you build your muscle strength. You improve your sense of balance. It makes the muscles stronger, so if you do fall, your bones are less likely to break. It also helps you keep doing your daily activities like shopping and walking and driving and meeting friends. And it helps keep you out of the house and feeling like you do still have a life outside of your sick bed or your sofa, because it's boring when you are stuck inside. We've all been there in lockdown. You don't want your body to be the thing that stops you doing it when your brain is still active. It reduces your risk of osteoporosis. Now, this is more for people with ER-positive breast cancer because the drugs you're on stop you producing estrogen. You need estrogen to keep your bones strong. And that's why our mums start to shrink and they get that hump back. And my mum was 5'5", she's now 5 foot, because her bones shrink and get weak with the menopause. But you're having it happen more than them because you're not making any. So actually exercising, weight-bearing exercise strengthens your bones and reduces the risk of them breaking. It can also boost your self-esteem. Now, I've suffered with depression. I still do at the moment. And often you feel really bad about yourself. I can't see the point. I don't like my body. I've got, lumps and bumps and everyone's looking at me. But just a walk for half an hour, I swear, just listening to the birds singing or just looking at what's around me, I just feel better. It just really, really helps. It reduces the risk of anxiety and depression. It just helps. Getting out in nature for half an hour, just looking at what's around you, it can really, really help. And it's a break, it's a change of scenery. It can also improve sleep. I lie awake at night thinking, have I wet myself or is it a night sweat? And the hot flushes when you're off and on, or you've got pain or a cramp, it's really, really hard to get to sleep, especially if you're depressed or you're anxious or you're scared. I now leave my phone downstairs so I can't look at blogs and websites in the middle of the night. That's a huge thing. But when I've done a really good workout, I am so tired, my head hits the pillow, I'm out. And it's the best night's sleep because I've actually exercised and used my body. And it can also ease the side effects such as nausea and pain and fatigue. And we don't know why it happens, but we know it can do. So they're all the reasons why you should be doing it. There've been a couple of studies. So one was a supervised exercise program looking to see if exercise could reduce fatigue. And I now know what that's like because I didn't get it as a doctor, and pain, while improving the health and quality of life of women with metastatic breast cancer. And it showed that regular aerobic and resistance training can improve your quality of life by making your heart work better, your lungs work better, the muscles of your skeleton work better, plus you're out meeting people with company. And he says you can adapt to exercise really well without making fatigue or pain worse and without making your cancer worse. It's like a win-win, but nobody talks about it because exercise is still a dirty word. What is resistance training? It's not just people in the gym lifting heavy and grunting like the men on the steroids. It's simply overloading a muscle to make it stronger. And for some people, it is simply sit a chair and standing up. So when you sat on the sofa and you're going to go and have a cup of tea, you stand up and do that 10 times. When you go to the toilet and you stand up, that's a squat. So when you go to the loo and you finish flushing, you could stand up and down 10 times. Break it into your day. It's just overloading a muscle. And that may be enough for some of you. Yes, you can do more by lifting gallon water bottles and resistance bands and going to a gym, but actually doing really slow squats is enough to keep your bum and your leg muscles working. It's really, really important to bring these in. So using a chair is brilliant, especially if you're a bit wobbly. Standing to sit and sitting to stand. The squat, your bum is the key muscle and we don't use it because I spend my life sit on my arse. So it's now all about the bum. Then you can strengthen your core. strengthening your tummy muscles to help keep everything together. So you can do that by sitting on the very edge of your chair. I'm going to do that, and sitting upright for 20 to 30 seconds. So you've only got the wafer thin bit of your bum cheeks on the chair, so you're having to hold your tummy in to stop you wobbling. When you're at a traffic light, you can squeeze your tummy in. When you're waiting for the kettle to boil, just imagine there's a string around your middle and you're just sucking it in. And that can really, really help. The third thing to think about is your arms and your shoulders. Not we've all got stiff shoulders after breast cancer, but again, your arms are useful to push you out of chairs and to grab things. So just simple things like pushing your arms up, like doing the YMCA, actually. That'd be a great thing to do. And then you can add in, YMCA, here we go. Cans of Coke, bottles of water, bring your shoulders up and out to the side, chest pressing. You can do push-ups against the kitchen counter. You can do them as like little exercise snacks that you fit the weight training in around the day. When you're going up the stairs, just go up and down the bottom step 10 times. You could go onto your tiptoes when you're brushing your teeth and down. There's ways of building it into your day. And now I want to talk specifically about bone mets, because a lot of people are very, very scared about telling people with bony mets to exercise. Now, exercise works on bones just like it works on muscles. It makes them stronger. And that's because bone is a living tissue. It changes in response to the forces placed upon it. So if you are lying in bed, there's no stress on your femurs, your leg bones. But if you're exercising regularly, you're walking, you're squatting, the bone adapts by building more cells and becoming stronger. And it's free, and there are no side effects. If you do have bone mets, you do need to check with your probably orthopedic surgeon or oncologist, is it safe? There may be some things they'll tell you not to do, depending on where your bone metastases are. So again, they may not have a clue. They should know what you should do, but it is worth checking with them. There are also, so Anna Campbell, MBE, is an amazing Scottish professor who has done a lot of research into this, and she trains personal trainers to train cancer patients. So if you just find Anna, she's Can Rehab is the name of the trust. You can send her a message and she will tell you what is safe and what isn't, depending on what you have. But the second thing to remember with bone mets is you should avoid using really heavy weights, or like grunting in the gym, doing something really, really heavy, because if you don't have that strength, your bones might snap because it's just too much for them. So you start gentle. So with my arms, for example, I had no function on this side. I've had my pec muscle, chest muscle taken away. I was lifting 1 kilogram weights. That's like less than a bottle of wine. My arm was really strong, but no, I lift with the weakest one, and I stick with really weak weights until my weak arm gets stronger. And then I build up. So you start really, really gently, just using your body weight, and take the time to warm up. Because I did this yesterday. I went to the gym, but right, I'm going to do this lift heavy weight. Oh, my back's gone. Slowly. It's not a race. Just doing those movements and building up will help. I found another study I wanted to talk about, and this was presented at the Australia Clinical Oncology Society meeting. And they've shown that resistance training and aerobic exercise programs specifically designed to avoid injuring fragile areas of bone mets, for example, not doing a lot of twisting if you've got spine mets, are safe and more effective than avoiding exercise if you have bone mets. Because at the moment, most doctors will tell anyone with bone mets to not do high intensity aerobic or weight training exercise. And they say, don't do it because your bones are weak and it might make it worse, or you won't get any benefits because what's the point, you've got bone mets. Bullshit. There is now extensive research to show that a rest strategy has increased the decline. It's reduced the survival. It's made them die quicker. It's made their mets spread by being inactive. They've showed that people who are doing aerobic and resistance exercise with bone mets showed significant improvements in muscle strength, in aerobic fitness, in walking speed, in muscle mass, with no increase in bone pain and no increase in side effects. We need to stop thinking we shouldn't exercise because you've got metastatic disease. It will increase your quality of life hugely. It will give you a purpose. So a friend of mine, her sister Savvy died of metastatic breast cancer last year, and she had a lot of bone mets. We're giving a lot of pain, and she was in bed. But I got her onto a friend of mine whose book I'm going to show you next, and she was using a resistance band to do leg raises and lunges and squats, and she got an extra month in a chair and a sofa and walking around instead of being confined in bed. So she could get out and do some things while she was really at the end of her life. It is so important to say, this is something I can do for me. Plus, you may find when you're exercising, you're just you. You're not a cancer patient. It's that time in the day where you're doing something and it's giving you a bit of control, something you can do to help yourself that doesn't make you feel sick or feel horrible. But you might want a bit more advice what to do. For example, what cardio can I do if I am in a wheelchair? How I can't go to the gym, I can't go running because I'm sat in a chair, I'm bedbound. What can I do? 2 secret weapons. The first I'm going to talk about is a resistance band. You can get these in supermarkets and online. They're stretchy. And by doing slow exercises, you can work any part of your body. They come in different colors, the different strengths. This is quite a strong one, but the color will tell you how strong they are. So some are very easy to pull. You can also get a little loop. And I put this in a door frame so I can then use it to pull down to help strengthen my legs. Really cheap, really easy to use at home. There are 2 books I'm going to recommend. The first is called Moving Through Cancer by Dr. Catherine Schmitz. Katie is she's a professor of exercise oncology and physiology in America, and her wife has been treated for nasal cancer. So she's seen her wife go through facial surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy that works. And she saw how hard it was to bully her wife to exercise. I don't want to tell her to do it, but I know she has to. She's seen how hard it is. She tells you what to do from a resistance training point of view, sitting, standing, what's safe, at home, for free, depending what stage of treatment you're in. She's all about you move, and then you lift, and then you eat well, and then you sleep well, and then you log what you're doing. So you can look back and say, hey, I did that, or I have a bad day, so don't expect to do too much that day. Really, really good book. Try and find some pictures so I can show. She's got really cool diagrams that kind of show you what to do. It's brilliant. It's not available in UK bookshops, but you can get it on Amazon. And there's lots of case stories because there are metastatic cancer patients doing amazing things. Some of you may have heard of Jane Thompson, who rode across America and raised hundreds of thousands of pounds with metastatic breast cancer. And the woman who's just broken the record for rowing the Atlantic had metastatic ovarian cancer. It doesn't define you. There are people doing amazing, crazy challenges because exercise keeps them going. So don't put yourself down. You'd be amazed what you can achieve. Some amazing case stories in that book. The next book I want to recommend is again written by a friend of mine and a breast cancer patient and a personal trainer called Carolyn Garrett, and it's called Get Your Oomph Back. This is another brilliant book. She talks about what she's done, women who've been through there. She talks about people who've had strokes who get fit for surgery. There is wheelchair cardio. If you are in a chair and you can't stand, she's got cardio exercises you can do so you get your heart rate sweaty. She is all about the resistance band with amazing photographs. I hate you for showing you this. So things you can do in a chair to exercise when you are stuck in a bed, when you can't move. The 2 of those are brilliant for helping you get your oomph back and feel that there is a reason to live when you're through shitty treatment. I know it's hard. I know it feels like a dirty word, and there are days when I don't want to do it, and I'll have a couple of weeks where I think, sort it, I can't be asked. No, I know I should, it's good for me. It's the habit. I often will get my clothes out first thing before I go to bed at night. So in the morning, I just fall into my trainers and I say, I'll just do 10 minutes. And if I hate it, I'll come home. But often you do 10 minutes and you carry on. But I'd urge all of you to seriously think about how you can incorporate exercise into your life and get your friends and family to do it with you and support them as well. So it becomes something you do together and create those memories and have fun with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was such a great chat. I think a lot of patients, myself included, I do have bone mets. I think it's a fear thing with exercise, isn't it? And you're scared almost to do something that you think will then get you into trouble or will actually harm you further. But actually there's clearly lots of things that we can do, and it's about taking that leap, isn't it? For want of a better word.
It is. And I think a lot of doctors and nurses won't know what you should be doing. We go on common sense and what we think is right. And if you're not a runner, you may tell someone, don't run after an implant for 3 months. But why? Where is the research?
Yeah.
there hasn't been research looking at bone mets patients told not to exercise. They just don't, so they assume it's okay. But we're now looking into it. And there are, reach out, Carolyn and Katie are both on Twitter and Instagram. They are so helpful. Like me, you can ask them a question, is this safe? The books have got great resistance training exercises to start with at home, safe, you can follow them, you can see how you do. You don't need to pay gym memberships, but it's a way of just keeping you as active as we can for as long as we can.
Well, as I say, I feel so much more knowledgeable just from listening to your chat today. So I know it'll be incredibly beneficial to the patients that join us for the Wellbeing Week. So thank you very much. And I look forward to our Instagram Live and our live Q&A later on in February. So
can't wait. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.